Every year, Apple's iPhone Pro and Pro Max feel like twin phones separated by one main thing. Same chip, same premium design, same Pro branding, and usually the same experience, just one is easier to handle, and the other is built for people who want the biggest display possible. But every once in a while, Apple gives the Pro Max a clear advantage that goes beyond size, and a new iPhone 18 Pro leak suggests that could happen again in a major way because the iPhone 18 Pro Max is rumored to get a huge battery boost, while the iPhone 18 Pro motioning barely changes. And what makes this leak especially interesting is where it reportedly comes from. We've all seen battery rumors before, but some of the most accurate early clues tend to come from government or regulatory databases, where devices are often registered ahead of release. Last year, a Chinese regulatory listing reportedly revealed iPhone 17 Pro battery capacities before Apple officially announced them. And now the same kind of leak is being linked to the iPhone 18 Pro lineup. This time, the information is being shared by the Weibo leaker digital chat station, who posted what looks like a screenshot from a Chinese regulatory database. If this is legit, we're not talking about guesses or supply chain whispers. We're talking about specific battery capacity numbers in mAh. And the difference between the Pro and the Pro Max is big enough that even the leaker seemed surprised and suggested the data needs further verification. So let's get into the numbers, because this is where the story really takes off. According to the leaked listing, the iPhone 18 Pro battery is shown as 4,288 mAh for the ESAM version and 4,056 mAh for the physical SIM version. For comparison, the iPhone 17 Pro was listed at 4,252 mAh for the ESAM version and 3,988 mAh for the physical SIM version. In other words, if you're looking at the regular iPhone 18 Pro, this is not a dramatic change. It's a small step up, exactly the kind of year-to-year bump most people would never notice on its own unless other efficiency upgrades stack on top. But then look at the iPhone 18 Pro Max. The leak shows the iPhone Shuba Pro Max at 5,567 mAh for the ESIM version, 5,391 mAh for the physical SIM version. And when you compare that to last year's iPhone 17 Pro Max listed at 5,088 mAh for the ESIM version and 4,823 mAh for the physical SIM version, you can see why this leak is getting so much attention. That's not a tiny increase. That's a meaningful jump, and depending on which figures you compare, it's hovering around the kind of gain that can translate to a real-world difference you actually feel. And that's the key point here. Battery capacity isn't just a spec for a chart. Battery life is the feature you experience every single day. It's the difference between feeling comfortable leaving home at 10 a.m. and not thinking about charging until night, versus watching your percentage drop all afternoon while you're trying to make it to dinner. Now, to be clear, mAh doesn't automatically equal battery life, and it's important to say that out loud. Real battery performance depends on the chip efficiency, the display power draw, the modem, iOS optimization, thermal behavior, and whatever new features Apple adds that might quietly consume power in the background. But capacity still matters, and a Pro Max size bump like this could become one of the most important reasons to choose the bigger phone, especially if Apple also improves efficiency with the next AC chip and iOS updates. What's also interesting is the way the leak separates ESIM and physical SIM models. The ESIM versions appear to have larger capacities than the physical SIM versions across both models in this listing. That doesn't necessarily mean one region is getting a better phone. It could be related to internal layout differences, model variants, regulatory filing categories, or other design factors. But regardless of the split, the pattern is consistent. The iPhone 18 Pro changes very little, and the iPhone 18 Pro Max leaps forward. And if that ends up being true, it could shift the entire buying conversation around the iPhone 18 Pro lineup. Because yes, the Pro Max has always had better battery life than the smaller Pro. That's basic physics. More internal space usually means a larger battery, and a larger battery usually means longer endurance. But the big question is whether Apple is about to push that advantage further than ever, turning the Pro Max into the clear, undeniable choice for people who care most about battery. Think about who wins the most from a Pro Max battery jump like this. Anyone who shoots a lot of photos and video, especially in bursts or in warm outdoor conditions. Anyone who travels and needs navigation running for hours while streaming music, while taking calls, while snapping quick camera shots. Anyone who games on the go. Anyone who relies on hotspots. Anyone who uses their phone as their primary device and wants the least battery anxiety possible. And if you're one of those users, the difference between a minor battery increase and a major one isn't just nice. It's the kind of thing that can decide your upgrade. This is also where Apple's product strategy comes into focus. Apple loves clear separation between models. They want the lineup to be simple to understand, and they want buyers to feel like upgrading to the higher tier gives you something real. Sometimes that separation comes from the camera system. Sometimes it's exclusive features. Sometimes it's a bigger screen. But battery is one of the most powerful upgrade drivers there is, because almost everyone cares about it, even if they don't talk about it as much as cameras or design. So if Apple gives the iPhone 18 Pro Max a noticeably larger battery, while the iPhone 18 Pro stays mostly flat, the message becomes pretty straightforward. If you want the best iPhone battery life, you're going to want the bigger phone, and that can be frustrating for people who prefer the smaller Pro for comfort, pocketability, and one-handed use, but still want the absolute best performance with no compromises. And that leads to a bigger question. Apple fans debate every year, should the smaller iPhone Pro ever get less than the Pro Max? Beyond the natural limitation of size, some people say no, the smaller Pro should be the same phone in a smaller body, period. Others say the Pro Max should have advantages because it's bigger, more expensive, and aimed at power users who want the maximum everything. If these leaked iPhone 18 Pro Max battery numbers are accurate, that debate is about to get louder because battery life is not a niche feature. It's mainstream, it's practical, and it affects everyone. Now it's worth repeating. This is still a leak. Digital Chat Station themselves suggested the data needs further verification, and that's the responsible way to treat it. Regulatory screenshots can be misunderstood. Prototypes can differ from final retail units, and sometimes model identifiers don't tell the full story. But if this is real, and if Apple truly pushes the iPhone 18 Pro Max battery up this much, we could be looking at one of the biggest everyday differences between the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max, arguably more important than a small camera tweak or a minor design change. So here's the question that matters most. If the iPhone 18 Pro Max really gets a major battery boost, would it change what you buy? Would you stick with the iPhone 18 Pro because you prefer the size? Or would battery life be enough to pull you toward the Pro Max this year? And if you're upgrading from an older iPhone, would a battery-focused Pro Max be the main reason you finally go big? Either way, keep your expectations realistic until we get more confirmation. But don't ignore this leak, because if these iPhone 18 Pro battery capacity numbers hold up, Apple may be preparing to make the Pro Max the undisputed battery champ of the entire iPhone lineup, while the regular Pro stays almost exactly where it was. And for a lot of people, that single change could be the deciding factor.